like our country and our society terrorizes boys, that boys are simply not allowed to be interested in anything other than mainstream popular culture, or they really get ragged on. Girls have these little pockets of safety. Being a weird girl can kind of be a special space for you all your own, and you can really create a nice place there with you and your girlfriends. You kind of form these little packs of safety. Boys don't seem to have that. You know, I could be making that up, but you know, that's my impression. And a lot of stuff, Tolkien talked about this, that he talked about how folk and fairy tale, the minute it got devalued, just like an old piece of furniture, it got sent to the children's room. You know, what was your great-grandmother's best chair is now this thing that you just go put in the nursery where the kids can beat it up. And it was the same, says Tolkien, with fairy tale and fantasy. It used to be the primary piece of entertainment for adults, and now it was, that's just kids' stories. And I feel like the same thing happens with women, that something that used to be for everybody gets devalued and just given to the women. You know, so it's not really serious, it's not really good. So just let the girls have it, and it becomes a girl thing. And you know, girls will read boy books, and girls will play boy sports, but for a boy to read girl books or play girl sports is incredibly shaming. I mean, the fact is, despite all of the fabulous, you know, forward movement that we have had in the last 100 years, it's still a little shaming to be a girl.
I also think that a lot of the energy that goes into story, the lot of desire for story, the lot of desire for a role model that is somehow larger than life, that is going to help you live your life, is now taken up by popular culture models of various kinds, and that it is, because of part of what Ellen says, that it's more accepted to say that so-and-so is your hero who is a sports hero, than it is to say that somebody who is in a book is your hero, or that or that something out of story, because that's a little girly, and this is a very practical and very active society, and that's more active.
We're also seeing a weird time in culture where fiction is devalued, that everything is about truth, everything is about nonfiction. When I meet somebody at a party and they say, "What do you write?" and I say, "I write novels," very often that look will come across their face and they'll say, "Oh, well, I read mostly nonfiction," or "I read magazines." And I've really been thinking about this in the last couple of years and thinking, why don't we want stories anymore? Why don't we want made-up things about made-up people? And I'm not talking about escapist stuff. I'm talking about, why don't you want a Charles Dickens, you know, who just, he made up these people. They were realistic, but he made them up. And now we're much more interested in, this is based on a true story. I don't know the answer for that, but there's been this huge shift in aesthetic, and I think that if we don't even want to read about a made-up family in New Hampshire, we sure don't want to hear about made-up people in a made-up place, except that we do, because this stuff is lovely and empowering, and people are crawling their way toward the Tolkien and the C.S. Lewis Narnia books and the Harry Potter, because we wouldn't be human if we let that go.
And I also think that has something to do with people have lost track of the fact that something that is factual does not necessarily mean that it's truthful, and something that is truthful does not necessarily factual. That truth is an emotional quality. It's not a question of the periodic table. And we have become stuck on the periodic table and the times table and all of those other things, and because you can grasp it, you can't argue about the periodic table. Whereas truth, people have been arguing about for centuries, and they will continue to argue about for centuries more. Unfortunately, people kill one another over truths, over competing truths. They don't tend to kill each other over competing facts.